Rain poured hard against the window that night, each drop sounding like a reminder of how quiet the house had become since his wife left. Ethan sat on the couch, the faint glow of a children's cartoon still playing on the TV as his 6-year-old son, Noah, slept curled up beside him. It had been one of those long days where every part of life felt heavier than usual: bills stacked high, job applications unanswered, and that silent ache that came when the world seemed to move forward without you. He had no idea that before dawn, one unexpected knock at his door would change everything he thought he knew about kindness, fate, and second chances. When he opened the door, a woman stood there, drenched, shivering, and clearly exhausted. Her name was Claire. She said her car had broken down on the road, that the rain had short-circuited her phone, and no motel nearby had any vacancy. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't the kind of man who easily trusted strangers, especially since life had taught him how easily people could disappear when you needed them most. But something about her eyes, tired yet kind, made him step aside and say, "You can stay here tonight, on the couch." That single act of kindness began a chain of events that neither of them could have predicted. Claire accepted his offer with quiet gratitude. She wrapped herself in a blanket, her damp hair clinging to her cheeks as she whispered a soft thank you. Ethan retreated to his small bedroom, but sleep didn't come easily. He lay awake, thinking about how life seemed to be testing him in every possible way. Ever since his wife's illness and her passing 2 years ago, every morning was a reminder that he was doing this alone, trying to raise Noah, trying to keep the lights on, trying to believe that maybe, someday, things would get better. When the morning sun spilled through the curtains, Ethan woke to the smell of coffee. Claire was in the kitchen, humming softly, wearing one of his oversized flannel shirts. She'd already made breakfast. Pancakes. Noah sat at the table, laughing at something she said. It was the first time Ethan had heard that kind of laughter in a long while. He tried to thank her, but she stopped him with a gentle smile. "You helped me when I had nowhere to go," she said. "Let me return a little of that." After breakfast, she asked about his work. Ethan sighed and admitted he'd been out of a job for months since the factory closed. Every application led nowhere. His savings were nearly gone, and he'd been one rent payment away from losing the house. Claire really listened, in a way that made him feel seen again. Before leaving, she asked if she could make a quick phone call. He didn't think much of it. She stepped outside, the sunlight catching the gold strands of her hair as she spoke quietly into her phone. When she returned, there was something different about her expression. "Calm, almost certain." "Ethan," she said softly, "I need you to trust me for a moment. You'll get a call later today. Please, just answer it." He nodded, though confused. By the time he realized he didn't even know her last name, she was already walking down the street. That afternoon, as promised, the phone rang. The voice on the other end introduced herself as an HR representative from a large construction company in the city. "Mr. Miller," she said, "we were referred by Ms. Claire Weston. She mentioned you might be a perfect fit for a site management position we've been struggling to fill. Can you come in for an interview this week?" Ethan froze. Claire Weston. The name sounded familiar. He quickly searched online and found her photo on a business article. Claire Weston, CEO of Weston Development Corporation. The woman who had slept on his couch was one of the most successful women in the city. The interview came. And with it, a chance that felt almost unreal. He was hired on the spot, not out of pity, but because his experience and honesty had impressed them. When he signed the contract, the weight of months of hopelessness seemed to lift. He drove home in silence, tears welling in his eyes as Noah chattered in the back seat about how they could finally buy his favorite cereal again. A week later, Claire showed up at his door once more, this time, not as a stranger seeking shelter, but as someone who wanted to see how the man who had shown her kindness was doing. "You didn't have to do all this," Ethan said, emotion catching in his throat. She smiled. "You didn't have to open your door to me either. Sometimes, it just takes one person believing in another to change everything." Months passed. Ethan found stability again. His house filled with laughter. He started to dream about the future instead of surviving the present. And through it all, Claire became a constant part of their lives, not out of charity, but because somewhere between gratitude and fate, they had found something deeper. One night, as they sat watching Noah build a tower of blocks on the floor, Ethan looked at Claire and said, "You know, if you hadn't knocked on my door that night, I don't know where we'd be now." She smiled softly, eyes glistening. Sometimes, life knocks in the middle of a storm for a reason. And in that moment, surrounded by warmth, laughter, and the quiet peace of a new beginning, Ethan finally understood one small act of kindness can ripple farther than you ever imagined, and sometimes, it brings back the light you thought you'd lost forever.